My name is Michael Theodore Pines, or Michael T as in Tom Pines, and the middle name is important because there are a lot of Michael Pines around. In fact, last time I checked, there were 2 lawyers in San Diego with the name Michael Pines. And if you connect my name with San Diego, it's probably easier to find me because I went to law school there starting in 1977, I think. And I've lived there ever since. Now I'm living in Sequim, Washington, and I love it. But I've been a longtime resident of San Diego. I retired from law well prior to 2008, well prior to the financial crisis. But I went into real estate investing, and I did all kinds of things. I developed multifamily homes and invested in all kinds of real estate. And I was very well known by 2008. And shortly after the crisis, I was contacted by the Los Angeles Times and did an interview. And I was predicting some really bad things were going to happen. Worse than most other people were saying, which surprised people. I'm not sure why. It was pretty obvious to me. So I went back to practicing law, moved back. I was in Salt Lake City at the time. I had a real estate business there. I had a real estate broker's license in San Diego, in California and Utah, and had a real estate investment business in Salt Lake City. So the Los Angeles Times contacted me there for my opinions. And I got very upset about what was going on. So I moved back to San Diego and opened a law office. And I started winning cases against the banks. And then I started exposing the corruption, not only of the banks, but the government. And I'm happy to email my entire story to anybody on request. I have a short version that's a couple pages long. And of course, Ed Vallejo at Americans Against Foreclosure has it. And ultimately, I became very famous. And the state bar went after me like they do most lawyers who are successful against the banks, and they disbarred me. Then they put me in jail. Then they put me in prison. And then they put me in mental hospitals. So I lost about 11 years of my life. But I'm back. And I believe that the banks and the government probably think that's bad news. But it's good news for you. I only work with attorneys as an expert consultant, and usually I can help find an attorney for you, although it's hard because lawyers know what they did to me and they're kind of afraid, but I have 2 ways that that problem can be avoided. The biggest and best way is to have a case exposed in the press. Thank goodness we still have freedom of the press. And in fact, that's the best way to get a good result in a case. Because the one thing that the banks and related parties and the government hate worse than anything is exposure in the press. If any of you have had experience with the courts, you know there are huge problems there. So it's much better if you can get your case exposed in the press. If the case settles, which it probably will, they usually do when they're in the press, the banks and related parties and government will all ask for a confidentiality agreement and to have the court file sealed, which everybody knows does very little good. Word usually gets out somehow, but the banks think that it gives them some protection, and it does, so that's what they will want. let's see, I'm 69 years old. As I think I mentioned, I now live in Sequim, Washington, and love it. The place that I'm living in is involved in a very interesting legal dispute in federal court. There are lawyers who've committed crimes that are involved, and we'll see what happens in court. The federal judge hearing the case is scared to death of me. As soon as he read about me, he tried to get rid of the case. But I don't think that's going to last very long. I am going to go back to San Diego at some point after a while and probably get a place there because it is my home. But I prefer a place like Sequim because it's so much less crowded, and the people are way more friendly than California, I have found. It's wonderful being in a small town. And I have absolutely nothing to hide. All the crimes I was charged with and everything that happened with the state bar is all over the internet, including the fact that I went to mental hospitals, which they did to try to discredit me, of course, to claim I was crazy. And my friends probably think I am a little crazy. Mostly I'm crazy for doing what I'm doing. I probably should have been smart and stayed out of law, and I was making plenty of money in real estate, and I would have been just fine. But everybody who knows me knows I have a passion for this. I've been fighting things that I think are wrong, including bullies, since I was 6 years old. It's in my DNA, as somebody recently told me. The banks can't bribe me. They can't get rid of me. The only way they'll do that is if they kill me, which people believe they've tried to do before. And frankly, there's nothing I can do about that. If the banks or the government decide to kill me, they will find a way to do it. And that will happen. But before they do that, I'm going to help as many people as I can. I believe that we are here to help each other. I think that's the reason that we're alive. I don't like to talk about religion. My background is I'm Jewish. And in Judaism, there is a saying or a tenet or a policy or something that says the reason we're here is to, I think it says, heal the world, is the way they put it. I don't remember the Hebrew name for it. But I happen to believe that's true. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. My email is magicalmichael100@gmail.com, and my phone number is 619-771-5302. I am pretty busy, so I may not get back to you right away, but Ed Vallejo is very helpful, and he usually responds very quickly. And his website is Americans Against Foreclosure, which you probably know because that's where this is going to be posted. I trust Ed 1,000%. I don't trust very many people at all because of what's been done to me. But Ed is a wonderful person, in my opinion, of the highest quality, totally honest, and I trust him 100%. So I will end there as far as an introduction is concerned, and I hope that we can talk sometime. Thank you for your attention.